Well, hello, and welcome to another session of a Course in Miracle workbook lesson. And today we're going to delve into workbook lesson 133. I will not value what is valueless. I will not value what is valueless. That is our ideal for today. And thank you for being here. My name is Oliver Blue, and I'm your temporary guide on the side. On the side only means that I am your equal. I am your brother. I am your I am yourself. I share the same self that you share. I share the same love that you share. I share the same creator that you share. I breathe the same air that you breathe. I'm breathed by the same creator. I am you and you are me, and we are one. And oneness is what we are all about here as we venture and journey through these 365 days of transformation. I've been on an 8-day sabbatical, not by choice, but by navigating some challenges that arose, through change in my environment. Went on a little vacation out in the deserts of New Mexico and changed my environments. And my body was not ready for that environment. And it created a challenge that caused me not to be able to physically do these broadcasts for about 8 days. So, but I'm back, and I may still have a little raspiness in my voice, but that's okay. It's much better. At one point, I didn't have a voice at all, but I am back, and I'm happy, and I'm glad that you're here with me. So much has happened in these 8 days here as we enter the first part of the month of June in the year 2022. And when I say so much has happened, in terms of the ego idea, of using our incarnation to further its agenda, to further its deception, to bring about more obscurity, to cover up more of the truth that we are, to cause humanity to look at each other as enemies, to cause individuals to not know themselves to the point that they devalue life to the point that they would take another's physical life, even children. As I sit here today, within the last 10 days, there's been 2 mass shootings in the United States. And at this moment, those of us here at Truly Foundation, we hold a space for all those victims and victimizers. We hold a space for those who have been affected by these acts, non-loving acts. And it's just but another extreme. These are just examples of just extreme belief in separation and the impact that it has on the way we perceive, the way we think, and the way we perceive, to the point where we don't value life. We don't value reality. We don't demonstrate love. But we actually take action that is opposite of what love is, of what oneness represents. And so it only emphasized the need for these workbook lessons to continue to be created and shared around the world so that all humanity can wake up to a reality of love, a reality of oneness, so that our thinking and our perceiving would align with the truth of who we are, so that we can see our brother as we see ourselves, so that we can love our brother as we love ourselves. It is the lack of the love of oneself, of self-love, that is a result of believing in separation, believing in the idea of separation, which only leads us down a path of being prodigal. Prodigal means being what? Separate, being isolated, and listening to the voice that speaks for separation, which only leads to pain and suffering and destruction. And we see this time and time again, not only in our personal life, but we see it in our collective life, in the life of our nation, in the life of other nations, where the value of a human life is seen only as a threat or an enemy. We don't see oneness. We don't see reality. We don't see the love that we share. We don't understand that what we do to our brother, we do to ourselves. And so we but repeat over and over and over again the same act of separation, which shows up in many forms as hatred, even unto physical death. So today we want to talk just briefly about this idea that I will not value what is valueless and what could be valueless. The Course has an idea here of what is valuable versus what is valueless, and what criteria are we using to determine that which is that holds value. Value has to do with not what the ego intends, but it has to do with what reality is. Okay, and so there's only two choices here, and it gets back to the real and the unreal. So we can say the real is value and the unreal is valueless. And we, even though we've been exploring some very high ideas as we've gone through these workbook lessons, some real lofty ideas in terms of beyond what we have thought of ourselves or others in the past. It still comes down to our choice. How do we choose? It still comes down to the practical aspect of, in a given day, there's choices to be made. And what are we using as a criteria to make those choices? Well, today's idea says we will not value what is not valueless. And so let's just see what it says here. It says sometime in teaching there is a benefit. Teaching has to do with we're always teaching. All of us are constantly teaching. You're teaching what you believe by your thinking, by your perception and by your actions, by your deeds. You're always teaching others what you really believe. It says sometimes in teaching there are benefits, particularly after you have gone through what seems theoretical and far from what the student has already learned. In other words, these ideas that we're sharing here and have been sharing are theoretical in nature, in other words. And a lot of these ideas that we've shared here out of A Course in Miracles workbook lessons, they're far beyond what the student have learned. But it brings them back to a practical concern. And the practical concern is, okay, I understand. I am eternal. I am God's equal. I have equality with God. I am an eternal being. I have all that God is. What is God? What God possess, I possess also. These are lofty ideas. But what about the practicality of it? How do I apply this in this world of perception? How do I apply reality in a world of unreality? That's the question. It says, this we will do today. We will not speak of lofty world encompassing ideas. So this exercise is not introducing another lofty idea, but it turns us to the practical concerns of how do I take these ideas and make choices during my day. It says we're going to dwell, but instead we're going to dwell on the benefits to us in terms of how does this help us to make the right choice? How do we value what is valuable and how do we not value what is valueless? It says, you do not ask too much of life. We do not, but far too little. We ask far too little of life. When we let our minds be drawn to bodily concerns. So it's saying to be so overly concerned about the body, we're asking for so little and not a lot. But so much time is spent and emphasis on our body and the care of the body, the safety of the body. Well, let's see where this is going. It says when we do that we're not asking for much. Why? Because we're putting value where there is no value. It says, when we are drawn to bodily concerns, when we are drawn to things to buy, to eminence as valued by the world, it says we ask for sorrow, not for happiness. So he said that happiness is not in where we actually focus our attention on bodily things. It says in or things that we have to buy. It says this does not lead to what happiness, but to sorrow. It says this course does not attempt to take from you the little that you have. Okay, so it's not about, this course is not about taking things away from us. It's about giving us a perception that leads to our happiness. Okay, it says it does not try to substitute utopian ideas, these lofty ideas that we have introduced. It does not try to substitute utopian ideas for satisfaction, which the world contains. So in other words, we're not trying to take the things that you enjoy in the world away from you by going through this course. That's not the course's purpose. It says because there is really no satisfaction in the world. This is the course's conclusion that there is no true satisfaction or real satisfaction in the world. So it's not trying to take anything away from what we would consider satisfaction or happiness that we might find in the world. That's not the purpose of the course. It's not trying to separate you from the world. But it says, today it will help us by listing real criteria by which to test all things that we think that we want. So this whole idea about what is valuable and what is not valuable, what are we using to determine? What's the basis for us to determine what has real value and what has not? The course is going to introduce some criteria for us to use. It says, unless they meet these sound requirements, they are not worth desiring at all. It says, for they can but replace what offers more. The laws that govern choice, okay? The laws that govern the choices that we make cannot make. It says we cannot make these laws. It says no more than you can make alternatives from which to choose. So we can't create the laws that governs the criteria for choice, nor can we make the alternatives. What are the alternatives to life? Is there one? Is there two? Or is there a multitude of alternatives? Notice now, this concept is coming to help us to what? Help us to navigate through the way that we think, the way that we perceive, and direct us and point us in a direction where true happiness resides. And so it says that the choosing we can do indeed, and indeed we must choose. It says, but it is wise to learn the laws that we set in motion when we do choose, and what alternatives we choose between. So we need to understand the impact of our choices. And so if we're going to realize the impact of our choices, there needs to be some criteria set or understood that to understand that what we're choosing, there's a result, or there is a implication, or there's a response to our choices in terms of what we will experience. In other words, it's introducing the idea of wise choosing wisely, that will lead to true happiness. And we choose wisely when we don't value that which is valueless and value that which is valuable. So there has to be a determination. Again, it gets back to reality versus non-reality, so that we're not deceived by this world of duality. Okay? It's not a judgment on the world, but it's offering us a way in which to choose that which is valuable. It says, we have already stressed that there are but two alternatives, the real and the unreal. The ego would think you that there's a multiplicity of choices, a complexity of choices, that life is complex and we got all of these different choices. But when it really gets down to the nitty gritty, it's really about reality versus that which is non-reality. It's really about truth versus that which is false. That's really what it comes down to. And so as we transform the way we think, the way we perceive, as we renew our mind to think in alignment with the mind of Christ, there's a discipline, there's a knowing, and a precise understanding that helps us to make those choices that really will bring happiness in our life. And you know what I mean. And so it says the range of choices is set, and this we cannot change. It would be most ungenerous to us to let alternatives be limitless. To be limitless, and thus delay our final choice until we have considered all of them in time, and not being brought to clarity or to so clearly to the place where there is but one choice that must be made. So the course is here dealing with reality. The world will make you think that there's so many alternatives, even to the point where it makes it difficult to choose. But not so. When you have an awareness and an understanding that reality is what you want, that's what you really want. And that reality is something that is not out there, but it is something that is something that is intrinsic within all of us. Then we stop and think. We stop and think. We pause and remind ourselves of who we are. We remind ourselves of what is real and what is not. In so doing, it helps us to make those healthy choices so that we seek, not only find, and we knock and the door is open. But the ego will send us on a rabbit trail, looking for happiness where it doesn't reside, where it hasn't been placed. So it says, another kindly and related law is that there is no compromise in what your choice must bring. What we choose will produce what we chose. And so it cannot give you just a little, for there is no in between. So what we choose it all. When you choose the ego, you choose all of the ego's false ideas. But when you choose reality, when you choose the thoughts and the mind of God and God's purposes, it gives you all of it. So those are the only alternatives. There's not many alternatives, regardless of the form. We have to learn to look past the form. That's part of this discipline. That's part of this training. Be able to look past the form and say, what is its purpose? What is its meaning? That's more important. It says each choice that we make brings everything to us, or it brings nothing. Every choice we make, it either brings everything or it brings nothing. Therefore, if we learn the test by which we can distinguish everything from nothing, we will make the better choice. So what it's saying here, when you choose reality, you're choosing everything. When you choose your true identity, you're choosing everything. You're choosing it all. When you choose the reality of your oneness with God, when you choose the reality of your oneness with all humanity, you're choosing everything. Nothing missing and nothing is broken. When you're choosing the reality of your eternity, when you're choosing the reality of your birthlessness, your formlessness, your timelessness, you're choosing everything versus what the ego offers, which is what? Separation. But then it offers a world of duality. And then it offers what? Birth and death. And so those are what you're really choosing, not some form that maybe dangles or twinkles or makes you feel good. There's nothing wrong with that. But with the wrong perception, it will only disappoint you. It's what we're seeing today. It says we will not value what is valueless. And so it says, first, here is the first criteria for our making right choices. It says, first, if you choose a thing that will not last forever, what you choose is valueless. If you put value in the temporal, you're putting value in the valueless. What is the temporal? That which what has beginning and has end. That which comes and goes. That which is change. That which changes. That which is impermanent. When we value that, we're valuing nothing. It's what it's saying here. This is the first criteria as we consider what we choose. It says, if you choose a thing that will not last forever, what you choose is valueless. A temporary value is without all value. A temporary value is without all value. Time can never take away a value that is real. So again, it comes down to reality versus unreality. What fades and dies was never there and makes no offering to him who chooses it. So when we choose a thing that will not last forever, what we choose is valueless. And it says, we are deceived by nothing in a form that we think that we like. That's really the process that all of us have engaged ourselves in, for a long time. We go from one thing to another, one temporal thing to another, putting credence, value in it, and it's really what? According to the course, it says, a temporary value is without all value. This is only temporary. So value should never be put in things, is what it's saying. Value should never be put in what we make. Value should be placed in the purpose for which a thing can be used for eternal purposes. Okay? So that's what we're saying here. Like I said, it's not trying to take anything away from you that you may temporarily enjoy. What it's saying is, look, unless it's used for eternal purposes, it really has no value. And it makes sense to me. Number 2, it says, next, if you choose to take a thing away from someone else, notice now, if you choose to take something from someone else, it says you will have nothing left. What? It says this is because when you deny another's right to everything, you have denied your own. So it's never a great idea to take anything from someone else. It says, you therefore will not recognize the things you really have, denying they are there. It says, who seeks to take away has been deceived by the illusion loss can offer gain. The loss to another can offer gain to you. That's not a principle that holds water. It says, yet loss must offer loss and nothing more. So when we take something from someone else in order to gain, if that's the idea, I take it from you so that I can gain. It says we've gained nothing. It says you lost, yet loss must offer loss and nothing more. Who seeks to take away has been deceived by the illusion that loss can offer gain. In reality, there is no loss. There's only expansion. There is no loss in reality. So in the world where there is this strategy to take from another for their own gain, ultimately here it's saying there is no gain. It doesn't work that way. So that's the second criteria. Number 1, what? We don't choose things that don't last forever, and we don't take things from someone else. The third criteria, it says, our next consideration is that one is the one on which the others rest. So this criteria is like the foundation of all criteria for right choosing. It says, why is the choice you make of value to you? You would have to answer that question. Why does it have value to you? Why is the choice that you make have value to you? What attracts your mind to it? What purpose, does it serve? Is it purposeful? Here it is easiest of all to be deceived. For what the ego wants, it fails to recognize. It does not even tell the truth as it perceives it. For it needs to keep the halo, which is used to protect its goals, from tarnish and from rust, that you may see how innocent it is. So this is a question of why is the choice you make of value to you? And you have to be honest with yourself here. Are there alternative motives? Are you trying to work something out ultimately to get something? I mean, this is the question that we have to ask. Why am I making this choice? Is it pure? Or is this part of a plot or scheme or plan? And we could be unaware of it, but the ego, is very aware of it. And we become aware of it when we are conscious of the fact that something has attracted us. Why? Or someone. Why? It says, yet it is camouflaged. It's a camouflage or a covering over, which could deceive but those who are content to be deceived. Its goals are obvious to anyone who cares to look for them. Here is deception doubled. For the one who is deceived will not perceive that he has merely failed to gain. He will believe that he has served the ego's hidden goals. So it's important to understand why we choose something and the value that we see in it. Why? What's the purpose? And then fourthly, it says we come to the criterion for choice that is the hardest to believe because its obviousness is overlaid with many levels of obscurity. So here we're recognizing the fact that our past experiences, our lack of awareness, lack of consciousness, our practice of operating out of the ego's thought system of separation and not out of the point of view of oneness is a heavy influence on our choices. And we need to recognize that. And we need to recognize that. So it says, if you feel any guilt about your choice, I knew that was coming. Every choice we make, there's a psychological or mental reaction to our choices after the fact. So it says here, if you feel any guilt about your choice, any guilt, meaning that, guilt basically has to do with that you have chose that something has gone wrong. Okay. It says, if you feel any guilt about your choice, you have allowed the ego's goals to come between the real alternative. Why? Because in reality, there is no guilt. In reality, there is no guilt. Guilt only happens in what? In a mind that believes that it is split or separate from its source. So if you feel any guilt about your choice, you have allowed the ego's goal to come between the real alternatives. And thus you do not realize that there are but two. And the alternative you think you chose seems fearful and too dangerous to be the nothingness it actually is. That's what guilt brings about. Fear, danger, nothingness. It says all things are valuable or valueless. All things are either valuable or valueless. Worthy or not. It says worthy or not of being sought at all. So there are not a multitude of alternatives. There's only two. It says entirely desirable or not worth the slightest effort to attain. All things. Choosing is easy just because of this. Simple criteria. Complexity is not but a screen of smoke or a smoke screen, which hides the very simple fact that no decision can be difficult. That all decisions can be what? All decisions can be simple. What is the gain to you in learning this? What does it benefit us in learning this reality here, this concept, this idea? It is far more than merely letting you make choices easily and without pain. So here we conclude that all things are valuable or valueless, worthy or not worthy to be sought after, entirely desirable or not worth the slightest effort at all. And choosing is easy just because of this. Complexity is nothing but a smoke screen, which hides this simplicity and make things to be what? Complicated or difficult. They're not. To learn this is to gain a very valuable skill set in how to choose. And to understand that what? When we've made a faulty choice, we can what? Choose again. And so it makes things not so what? Not so serious, not so complicated, not so complex, but very simple. But we have to be real with ourselves, or we have to come from our true, real self in order to exercise this very wise skill set. And so we have to be honest with ourselves in order for us to understand that, again, like the lesson is today, come to a place where we will not value the valueless. And the valueless is anything that is what? Temporal. Anything, or the way it says, that which is not eternal. Or have a what? Eternal purpose. So it says, heaven itself is reached with empty hands and open minds. Heaven. Heaven meaning what? The state of being, where we're not deceived by the ego thought system of separation, where we come to understand the oneness of all things, which comes with nothing to find everything and claim it is as their own. When we understand the oneness that we are, that we share with each other and with our Creator, there's no deception in that. There is no taking in that. There's only a shared awareness of the valuable and not the valueless. It says, we will attempt to reach this state today, this heavenly awareness, with self-deception laid aside and with an honest willingness to value but the truly valuable and the real. So it really comes down to that which is real cannot be threatened. That which is unreal, the deceived, the valueless, it does not exist. Herein what lies the peace of God. So it goes back to that mantra that explains the whole course. And so our 2 extended practice periods today of 15 minutes each begins with this, and we'll say, I will not value what is valueless, and only what has value do I seek, for only that do I desire to find. What is that only has value? We call it reality, and you are part of that. You are that. And in that reality, all things are the one thing. In that reality, all things are yours. In the reality, all things is the shared reality of our oneness with each other and with our Creator. So there's nothing to take. There's only that which we share. That's the whole idea about making a decision. Is this based on a shared interest? Or is this based on what? Is it based on the ego thought system of loss? Our gain at someone else's expense. There is no gain in that. It's according to what it says here. And so, as we only value what is valuable, let us receive what waits for everyone who reaches unencumbered to the gate of heaven. And this is all symbolic here, okay? Which swings open as he comes. So as we today embrace the idea that we only desire that which is valuable, which is heavenly, which is shared, which is reality, we come with wholly empty hands. We come with nothing from a place that we thought was something. And we realize that we are filled with everything. It says, should you begin to let yourself collect some needless burdens or believe you see some difficult decisions facing you, because now we understand there are no difficult decisions. They're very simple. It says we will quickly answer that with the simple thought, I will not value what is valueless, but what is valuable belongs to me. In other words, we come to a realization that we have need of nothing, in the sense that we choose reality only. We choose our true identity only. We choose to embrace the inheritance that we are one with all of creation, one with all of life. We have no fear of anything, no dread, no regret. But there's the one that is breathing us. There's one that is guiding us into all truth and all reality. So the only choice is reality until the day we choose that which is real, that cannot be threatened. And that is you. You cannot be threatened. The world cannot offer you anything. In the sense that, and what we say, what the world is what an idea. It's a false idea of a false identification. That false identification can offer you nothing. Your reality as the innocent, holy, and complete offspring of the one creator, and that you possess all things that pertain to life and godliness and peace already, makes choices and choosing very easy and without stress. A valuable tool for us to have, and a valuable way to live, a peaceful way to live. And so with that in mind, guess what? We will not choose that which is valueless, but that which is valuable. And we're choosing reality. Okie dokie. Thank you so much. I made it through this lesson today. I didn't cough or sneeze. And my voice held up, so that's a good sign that I'm getting stronger. I choose that which is valuable. And that which is valuable is what? That which is valuable is that which God created, and it has not changed. I remain as God created me, regardless of what arises, of what choices arises. I remain as God created me, and so do you. So I'm glad that we're back on schedule, back on this journey. And I will be putting out the next lesson each day as I move forward from today. Choose only reality. For that is who you are. So long. Have a great day. We'll see you on tomorrow. Bye-bye.